I'd like to call the meeting to order for Maple Run Unified School District Board of Directors. It is January 15th, the time is 6 o'clock. First item on the agenda is agenda review. I would like to move new business item 8B, which is ESP negotiations update to the end to number 11, which is an executive session, so that the executive session will be at the end of the meeting. If there's no objection, the agenda will be accepted with that change. Okay. Next item is Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Please join me for a Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Pardon me for not spelling. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At the visitors section, are there any visitors in the room that are here to speak to the board? Seeing none, are there any persons online that are here to speak to the board?
We've posted, but no one's replied yet.
Okay. Okay, then that concludes the visitor section of our agenda. Moving on to consent agenda, we have minutes and also the media packet. Does anyone see any reason to pull any of these out for discussion? Hearing none, the consent agenda is accepted without objection. Next item is reports to the board, and we have the student board rep report, and Jacoby's here.
Hi everyone, nice to see you all again in the new year. So I kind of forgot this was happening, so I'm just gonna wing it. So we have been really busy. It is midterm week, so I'm again the only one here. So lucky you all get to spend more time with me. And lately, the Student Voice Committee has been reaching out to middle school students and meeting with student leadership teams at the middle schools. And right now what we're doing is we're in our building connections phase, and so we're trying to follow the participatory action research cycle in building relationships and executing action for change at the end. And so we have met with Fairfield and we have met with SATEC, and we're in the process of scheduling a meeting with City Schools student leadership group. And the meetings we have found have been really successful, and we have gotten good responses on what are some goals that each of the groups want to achieve now at the end of the year, and how they see the Student Voice Committee helping them. And so that has been really nice for us to see, so that we can help to tweak our facilitation and tweak kind of what we're doing at the middle schools to better fit each school and their students' needs. And then also being able to collect feedback and adequately represent their voices on the school board. And so at SATEC, the advisors are working on a plan to talk to the leadership team there to figure out what they want their students to be doing, because the group was formed like a few weeks ago, and we kind of helped to set that up. And so that is a really exciting thing that's coming out of it, is that SATEC is having a student voice committee, which is really rare for middle school students to have access to student leadership. And that is something that, you know, even high schoolers, it's rare to have access to like a real adequate student leadership experience. And so we find that it's really cool to work specifically so far, because we've met with Fairfield and SATEC with these student leadership groups and how much interest there is. And it just kind of shows how our community is valuing young stewards. And so that's really powerful. And then the other thing, I had something else I would like to report. I forgot what it is. So if there are any questions.
I wanted to report back. So we had our DEIB committee at NMC, and if you guys wanted to partner on like a drive for Ada's Closet, we just would need a list of what sort of things you'd want collected. We could send it out through the staff. There's 800 people who work there, so we tend to get good participation.
Any other questions for Jacob or comments?
Thank you all.
Thank you so much for your report. Next item on the agenda is old business. Hard to believe that the budget is old business, but anyway, I'm gonna make a motion to adopt the school budget for the fiscal year 2026 in the amount of $77,757,499 and warn the article using the required statutory language for budget. I need a second for discussion, please.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Discussion. We have the presentation if anyone needs it. We have information if anyone needs it. Is there anything new from last week that we know?
The only thing that is new is we updated the tax rate for the city, town, and Fairfield because those came in. So we just updated that, but it barely changed the tax rate on the bottom line for all of them.
Right. And just for our people that are listening, can you go over that tax rate one more time
Absolutely.
for city, town, and Fairfield?
Yes.
I think we have paper copies in front of us.
We're just looking for the,
Here's those
tax
three now.
sheet on the back.
Sorry. Thank you.
So the tax rate for the city would be 2.8 cents increase to $2.23. The town would increase 8.9 cents to $1.85, and Fairfield would decrease by 5.5 cents to $1.23.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions related to the budget? I'm hearing none, so I think we're ready to vote. All in favor of the motion to adopt the school budget for fiscal year FY '25 in the amount of $77,757,499 signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Any abstention? Okay, motion carries 8-0. Right? 8. Next item is another action item. I'd like I'll make the motion to approve the warning as presented. You have it in your packet as attachment 7B. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thanks, Charlie. Discussion. You have it in your packet. It's been the same for a few weeks that we've looked at it.
Got the sign, the signature
We have
page.
a signature page that we all need to sign once it's approved. Any questions or discussion?
I guess my only question, there's not really a lot of latitude we have if we wanted to make a change in the warning, am I correct on that?
Great.
Pretty much, I mean, Article 4 is, the language is locked by law. 3 is, and Bree, you can help me with Articles 3 and 2, which are about the authorization to borrow money and authorizing the board of directors for the capital reserve fund. Those have been checked through our legal counsel several times, so we advise not to change those. And then one is just the elections of the
Yeah.
three positions that are.
And there's no addendum that we can add or anything like that?
Not an
correct?
article, not an article pertaining to Article 4, is what I'm assuming you're asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't change, we can't do anything.
No, I know not to change that. I'm wondering if there's an addendum, something you can put on after that. is my
I don't think we can pertain to like we would be advocating one way or another for the budget, which is not something we can't put like facts on the warning of what it is. Yep.
Thank you all.
Imelda, just a question. We haven't stated tonight the hard work we did to get the budget in a 2% arena. And the explanation for the public why we have to put 5.1 Bill, 5.1
Yep.
in the article, because of the weighted student mandate from the Agency of Ed.
Yeah.
So I just thought we should state that because people are listening. Perhaps they'll see what we're doing, and I just think it's a good idea because we all have worked hard to keep the budget in a logical place.
Yeah, thanks, Jack, good point. So just to add to that, we've had about 5 budget meetings as a group. I might be wrong on that, and I know that administrators and other leaders have had way more than that regarding budget, but the board has been pretty firm the last few meetings, 2 meetings, that we wanted to keep the increase at 2%, which is 1% less than what the governor recommended in his recommendations, which was 3%, and we want to have that be the best budget that we can present for our current population to meet the needs of the students as best we can. The piece about the language of 5%, can you address that, Bill?
Yes, I can. So, I've been talking about this a lot recently, that while we have a 2% increase in spending, we have a 5.11% increase on spending per long-term weighted average daily membership. And that's because our weights of free and reduced lunches for students who qualify has gone down. And that's because the number of students that qualify for free and reduced lunch have gone down since in this 2-year aggregate compared to last year's 2-year aggregate. And that's because the state has started to unenroll families that don't qualify for free and reduced lunch. In the prior year, there were families there that were kept on, that qualified for free and reduced lunch, even though maybe their income had grown to a place where they shouldn't be. They weren't disenrolled. And so that's really hitting this year. So it's a little bit of an apples and oranges comparison. I wish we didn't have this percentage and it's one of the problems with the long-term weighted average. It's not like the equalize we used to have. It's hard to make a comparison to year because there's nothing making it similar to each year.
So, just for my information, that number, the free and reduced lunch number,
Yep.
is not self-reported by the family.
It could be, or it could be an automatic certification based on a multitude of social services factors that have families automatically qualify.
Okay. So, we can't, is it a pretty good fair estimation that those numbers are not quite accurate?
They're as accurate as they could be. I can't say that they're perfect. Because one of the things that, I mean, we have universal school meals, and not qualifying whether they're good or bad, but I know all schools are challenged with getting families to sign up for that. And that's not just Maple Run, that's across the whole state. It's being talked about as a challenge. And I talked to every superintendent I've talked to so far, and Bree, maybe you can talk about some of the business managers, but we're all seeing a reduction in free and reduced lunch across Vermont.
That's correct, yes.
It just kind of rubs me the wrong way because the information that we have about our demographics and the demographics near us are in conflict with that.
Yes. I mean, the thing that really rubs me the wrong way is that we're growing numbers of students from our 3 towns. We've increased about 20 students overall from last year, yet this number went down.
So hopefully the powers that be, whoever the heck they are these days, are talking to the AOE about how this number needs to be solidified more or not carry such a weight. and that'll never happen, because that's a big number. But it's troublesome.
It's troublesome. It
Yeah.
is troublesome, I agree with that. I will tell you, the AOE already knows about this. This has been spoken to by business managers and superintendents. But and I think I would be using the same tactic. They are following the law which the legislature set. And this is when the waiting law 127 came into place.
Yeah.
Set this law and changed it from our equalized system where there wouldn't be as big of fluctuations. I understand why they went, it was just, for me, it was good intentions, bad implementation. And I'm sorry to editorialize it that way, but that's what it was.
Theory always apply practical.
Yeah.
Thank you
And-
all.
Yeah.
So we diverted a little bit, but that was discussion related to the motion to approve the warning as presented. Are we ready to vote? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries unanimously 8-0. Yep.
Milda,
With that?
I think just to reiterate, just because we did get off, a little bit tangentially there, and just to reiterate is that the budget that the monies that we have control over, we chose, the governor gave us a recommendation of a 3% cut, and we went, increase, and we went to 2%.
Correct.
So what was within our control, we went down to a 2% instead of a 3%.
Yep.
When you look at the warning, it says 5.1, and that is for reasons that are without our control, out of our control.
Yes. Thank you. Good points. Okay, you're getting the signature page to the warnings being passed around for your signature. Next item is new business, and that first item is budget communications. And so how do we spread the word is the big question, and you do have something in your packet that gives us some suggestions, and it is attachment 8A. And some of the stuff we've done, and some of it we can do. And also, there are probably a lot more things that we haven't thought of that we can add to this list. So, do you all have access to, I don't want to read it to you. You all have access to the form. We went back and forth in our discussions a little bit about the editorial series and the messenger. Where did we land on that? We're gonna do it?
I've been doing it.
Okay.
I've done 3 editorials so far, and after tonight, I'll be writing another editorial, probably hit next Tuesday.
Yes, I misspoke. I meant the supplement.
Oh, so I was going, yeah, so the supplement, I actually had a question, I was talking with Milda about this. So there's a couple of things I just brought one of each, but this is our annual report, which statutorily we always have to do. And we've usually provided that with a QR code to come in for people to be able to get it, and printed copies at town clerks, not a lot of them, but some, and here in the offices and in the schools. We always have to produce this. One of the things that we've done for years, and I don't know how many years it's been, but it's been many, there's been a supplement in the messenger, all right, that goes out. I don't know how effective this is. One of the things that's been done in other districts, instead of doing something through the newspaper, and I'll give you some figures on this in a minute, but we usually have run this the Tuesdays, 2 weeks in a row prior to the vote. And it has a lot of the information that's contained in the annual report, but not everything, and then a QR code to get to the annual report. It basically has our letters, and then it has some of the budget in it, some nice pictures, and here's the budget information in the back, and the reports from the principal. And then where to vote and when. That we've done in the messenger. I'm not so sure of the messenger's distribution. I don't know. I wish I did have the exact numbers on that. I know that they're, actually, I think from what I heard from Bridget, their editor, is that their online is getting even more popular than their printed version. Another
I'd like
thing,
to know.
yeah, another thing that, and so that's something we can continue to do. That costs us about $3,500 to do all that. Layout, 2 printings, out it goes. Something that's been done in other districts has been a postcard campaign with a QR code without doing a newspaper insert, where it says it has like the voting locales, the time, 1 or 2 things. For more information, scan this code, go to the annual report to get the information. Everything that's in here, that was in this, the newspaper was in here. There's actually more in here. So we're creating this. The question I have is, what does the board think about how well this frankly gets read versus trying to contact every residence that's on the voter register list with a postcard, or not do either? But those are options of things to think about. And if we're gonna go with this, I kind of need to know tonight because of the deadline to get everything set up and printed. The other things that we have on here is we tried some last year, some board member coffee hours. Charlie did a bunch of those. A few other people did. I don't remember who else, frankly. I just remember you, Charlie. I know there were others. I'm sorry, I just don't remember. Carly, yeah, Carly did some. Okay. And then I want to put a couple things out. You know, we're going to use our social media, parents, staff members, seeing reminders to vote. You know, putting out information about use all social media all the time to learn information about these. We did a video series. When I go back and look at the viewership, they're not high on YouTube. We might have gotten to 200 views of one of the videos. We've tried really short ones. We've tried long ones. You know, we tried. So I'm not really. I don't think that that's really helping us. And that may be something that we use at another time. You know, we can do emails about get out the vote and do things like that. So those are things that you see in red here. What's in black are things that we've already been doing. I haven't looked at the click rate, but when I talked to people about a budget, a bunch of them said, hey, I clicked on the website. Zach, you were a good one voicing that one early on, like, hey, get your budget materials up on the website better, so thank you for that. You know, and just right up on the front page. So I just, when I talk to people, they're like, yeah, I've actually found that. Like, great, it means it's working. That's what we want, so.
You know, what's the cost of the postcard?
Oh yeah, sorry, I meant to tell you that. Thank you, Jack. The postcards are around, I brought that with me. The postcards, we think are somewhere in the $6,000 range when you do postcards, printing, and postage.
So I was on the Fairfield Town Clerk's Office website, and there isn't a link to MRUSD. I noticed it just says Fairfield Center School, even that's not what it's called. So maybe we could make sure that that booklet that you have is linked, and that there's an actual link on each of the town websites, town or cities, whatever, to the budget information.
We can ask them again to get the right one.
Yeah.
We have asked.
You have
That
asked?
to be corrected.
Oh, I'd be happy to ask too. Okay.
We'll go get her.
Well, I'll be a little busy right now, but yeah, yeah. That was.
I know that I wouldn't look at a postcard. I don't know the readership of Messenger, but for people that are older demographics, they're not gonna click. They're not gonna necessarily do a QR code. but they will look at a newspaper print. So I just hesitate getting rid of that, and it's half the price of the postcard.
I mean, I would,
I don't care.
I would argue that if we're getting like letters to the editor, we're getting editorials out to the newspapers, then I would wonder, I would suspect, more based on gut feeling and information, that that's reaching the folks who are reading the newspaper and probably more likely to be read than an insert. I admit that I don't have a physical newspaper subscription, so I don't know the habits of how people read their papers.
Bill, did you clarify whether or not we could add it to the online version?
Add what?
Add the budget information to the online.
To
messenger.
the,
Messenger online.
I didn't get.
go on the
that.
Messenger
Is that or
online?
not?
I think it was there last year, I'll have to check, but I'm like 99% sure it did go to the online version last year.
Just wondering.
But I believe, let me look, I've got the quote, copy of the quote right here. It just says running in the paper, so I'd have to think about that. But I'm pretty sure it was online last year, but I don't know. Do you remember? Aaron thinks so too, yeah. Yeah. So it's really just reformatting this and taking some pieces out,
Mhm.
so it's smaller and it fits into an insert. So it's not like we're creating anything new, we have to create all this anyway.
So is it possible to just get an interview with somebody from the Messenger, get an interview?
Yeah.
And, just do it the old fashioned way, because if we put it in the paper through an interview, and then it goes to our channel 15, is that what it is?
1079 now, or 1078.
Okay. It goes on there, and then it also maybe goes to local news.
Yeah.
And it goes on Facebook, and it goes on Front Porch Forum. And those are all things that don't really cost money.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, a postcard I throw right into recycling.
Okay.
And I do read the paper, but I think I'm a minority. And I do read those inserts. But that's a lot of money when we could just write some editorials and get an article in the paper.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could, after the article, put a QR code to link it out. Or maybe even a smaller advertising section instead of a full thing. Kind of an abbreviated version where it's small, quarter, half page. So the cost is less, but we're getting it out and that you can come here to learn more. This is the main information. So you have the people who read get it. They won't scan, but you're not spending $3,500.
So the actual Knowledge Messenger online, I just started resubscribing like 2 months ago. And it actually looks like the paper. I mean, it's great pages and all that. When I signed up, they did promise me that they would send me an email each time they were printing. And they haven't sent me one, so I sent them an email asking why they weren't notifying me when it was coming, because I don't remember to go look at it, right? Without a notification, they said, oh, we can't do that. Okay, well, your ads have to come, but I didn't decide not to get into that fight, but I think there's a lot of, I appreciate Marion's comment, but I think there's a lot of people from ages, 0 to, maybe not 0, 6 to whatever, that are clicking too. I think it's easy and you don't have to, recycle and do all that kind of stuff, but unless we have the actual distribution from the Messenger, we really don't know for sure.
I think regarding postcards, I agree that 99% of people who get postcards are going to throw them in the recycling bin. I guess my question is, how, if we get a few main bullet points on a postcard, how many people are looking at that as they're on their way, and does that message get into their heads, even if they aren't going to click on the QR code? It's more of a a general food for thought question as opposed to anything that I am sure of. But I think the main thing is, you know, whatever we can do to get the main points of our budget in front of people and digesting that information is where we should spend our money.
Yeah, I would agree. I think kind of going the lowest cost would be the best. And I'm just thinking like the people that are going to vote for the budget already know they're going to vote for the budget. People that are in question, if they see you coming out with these fancy postcards and fancy things, they're like, this is what they spend their money on.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're like, yeah, I'm not voting for that. Like, I'm not going to approve them to send out these postcards that are going in the garbage. That's just kind of what I'm thinking. Like, I'm not going to be like a negative Nancy or anything, but that's just kind of like, I think the reality of it. Like, you already have your definite no's, your definite yeses. The people in question, they're in question, they are probably planning on voting no, and I don't think that sending them like a postcard that, you know, is plastic paper is going to help. I think, you know, a messenger article, Facebook, just pushing it on digital free sources is going to go a lot longer than it would otherwise, in all honesty.
Spoken by a true clicker.
Yeah, I mean, everyone clicks in here, so, and I think everyone out there clicks, so I think that's going to be the best bet. And if they're not clicking, they might not show up to vote, so.
I just asked my grandchildren to cook. So, Bill, do we know what the local, our local area school districts, their budgets?
So they've been, MDU last year put something in, but they hadn't in previous years.
No, I'm talking about their percentage increase.
Oh, their percentage increases? I don't have that off the top of my head, I'd have to go look that up. I know we're, in talking with superintendents last Friday, there's maybe one or two others in Champlain Valley that are down at our percentages, quite a few in the 4 to 6 range. So.
Yeah, that's helpful.
I don't know if this is the right time to bring it up or not, but the day of voting, we talked about it the other night at the select board meeting afterwards, but if we could have someone standing out front, willing to explain prior to the vote, people walking in, I don't know how we want to do that, but that was a discussion that we had the other day.
Yeah, you and I and Rusty Brandon were having a conversation. Rusty's the one
And
who
it's
brought it
not
up.
the first time I've heard that, but.
You need a sign or something that says, at each location, that says, the overall spending went up 2%. It says 5.1 because of how students are counted in Vermont. That's simple.
I think that would be very effective.
And having someone staff that, so if anyone has questions, if you have questions, stop and ask
I think that
before people go in.
effective.
Isn't there also a certain number of feet that you have to be away from
Yeah.
the door, but you could even pass out stuff?
Yeah, you can be in, and I know for Collins Pro, like we asked this last time, because one of you asked this, you can't be in the tennis courts, but you can be out in the lobby or out front by the doors. I haven't checked City Hall or Fairfield.
City Hall's right outside.
Yeah.
But they typically request that you don't do it, but they can't stop you from doing it if you're within so many feet, right?
Yeah. Right.
I remember being involved in a write-in campaign for something, and we had little stickers with the person's name on it, and we were passing those out so that all the person had to do was peel the person's name off and put it on the ballot. And that was legal.
Yep.
I wonder if it's still legal.
I don't know, probably do some research.
Maybe if we start putting that information out now,
Yeah.
that it will generate a buzz within the community, and maybe people will be more apt to go to the upcoming meetings that are going to be available. Like, let's not wait for the week before, you know?
I mean, in terms,
Sorry, just like Front Porch Forum, you know, just everywhere, just kind of start putting it out. This is what it looks like.
Because I think it's on average, you only see things 7 times before they fully grasp it, and so the more exposure we get it out, people understand and ask questions, the more likely people are gonna have questions to ask. Because the first time they read it, it's a while to actually fully digest what's happening.
And I
Especially with the way social media is, because you're just clicking and going and clicking and going, and you see it several times.
And I think the more times you see it, the more likely you are to understand it and the more likely you are to vote yes. Because if you don't understand it, you're like, it sounds like a lot of wasted spending, but then you look at it a little more and you're like, okay, this is like valid, like everywhere else is seeing like 4 to 6% increases, we're only seeing 2, like, we really have a fiscally responsible school board. I don't know if we do or not, but I mean, yeah, I like to think that, and I think the numbers will speak for themselves. And I think getting it out now and just kind of keeping it, but not like obnoxiously doing it, but just kind of like give updates, and I think people will appreciate
Well,
that.
like you're saying, not obnoxious, and you have to remember not everybody's on French First Forum every day.
Yeah, that's
And so like what you see, you may see it, another day. So like the thing is, you have to understand that obnoxious for us may not be obnoxious for somebody else, because they're not checking our Facebook page every day. They're not checking social forums every day. So
But it's a good
we stand by
point,
aggressive because unless you scroll down the page, you're not going to see every notification.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Right, but bad news travels fast, right? So, if we get it out there earlier, then people can start to have conversations about it, and then we have an opportunity to educate people to understand why it is the way it is.
I agree with you.
And what we did about it, so.
And I think bad news does travel fast, and one of the advantages that we have is that there's not really much bad news in our budget, I don't think.
I'm not suggesting,
Yeah.
but the way
Well,
someone's
no.
gonna read that is the reality of it, how it's gonna be read in terms of what they're gonna see in their tax
Yeah.
bill and whatnot.
But I mean,
But we're gonna show what we did as earnestly as possible to keep it as low as we have the ability to do.
Yeah.
I didn't mean that in a.
No, I mean, my point is that, there, like, in terms of people who might, and I don't know, might be naysaying the budget or what, but, we have, I think, a very good budget put together. We came in more conservative than the governor said. We looked at our district goals, and we made sure that the budget was in alignment with those. We did our best to keep the forward momentum of the district. We've engaged with the community again and again for a year. And so I'm sure there's going to be some buzz out there, bashing it, but I think we have a lot of good news, and we should definitely be pushing that out. And in terms of the 2% versus 5% number is a pain, but the two, I think you said last week that our community is pretty educated in terms of is easy to educate in terms of this stuff, and
Has been receptive.
yes, receptive to it, yes, and I mean, it's a very important point to make is what we could control was 2%. We worked within the governor's guidelines, and we did him literally no better. And I think most people realize that if we emphasize the 5% number is after the state applies their formula, most people in Vermont realize that our tax code is extremely opaque. And we can definitely use that to our advantage in terms of getting our message out. But
Agreed.
yeah,
But I think the 5.1 will catch people's eyes, is all.
it will catch people's eyes.
So then we can do
yeah.
the explaining and the education.
Yes,
That's all I'm
and
saying.
if we get earlier we get out.
Yeah.
I'm disagreeing with you, but with a lot of expectations. I'm sorry.
So I think we kind of axed the postcard campaign in our discussion.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But we haven't come to a conclusion about the supplement, paper supplement.
Is that free?
No, 3,500. I think, do we know what the cost would be if we did it just online, Bill?
I know, we've always done it this way with print, we haven't gone for any other pricing at this point. I will tell you, when I've worked with a paper, I've never had an online only, because what they do is they set up, do their camera ready, print, as Nilda said, and they have it as a
Gotcha.
paper.
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah, I believe that's it, this is
Yeah, I'm okay with the ad, just because
You're okay with the supplement, is what you're saying?
I'm okay with the supplement, personally.
How do people feel about it? Is there a strong opposition to the supplement?
No.
It sounds like there's not strong opposition, so, I mean, I think we can work to maybe Can I see that supplement for a second?
Yeah.
We can work to try to have a little more white space, maybe?
Well, it's one cost, it goes by 4 pages because of the way the
I'm not talking so much cost, I'm talking so much will someone read it,
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
But yeah, I guess we are gonna continue with the supplement.
Okay.
Is there a way to just do a page? Would a page be cheaper?
The page would be cheaper, I would say at this point, it's probably, I don't know that we could do it all in one page to get the information and do it justice, and the things that we would cut. I mean, part of this, right, we've been talking about this with the budget, one of the reasons I've been doing it is like, you've gotta do the good. You can't just skip the budget, you gotta tell the whole story. And this helped, these pictures right here, while there's not a lot of words, do a lot of selling.
Agree.
And it does a lot of telling about what we do.
And I also think the good is something that a lot of people might not, might not recognize. If you ask a typical person what the state of education is in the United States, they're going to give you generally a pretty bleak outlook. But I think we've seen all the reports, we've seen our measurable numbers go up, and so the more that we can emphasize that Maple Run is we're doing well, we're doing what the community wants us to do, and we're doing it for, with as lean a budget as we can get. I think that will resonate very much. So we'll
Okay,
take it.
so with most of you that are willing to click, you can forward or share or whatever, anything you see online, and, talk it up where you can. And
The only other thing I'd want to mention, Nilda, is if the board wanted to be at places, either school events or, like you said, we can talk about this at other meetings too, to be there. Aaron's willing to put together, a couple quick, easy things to say and have a board member be there and say it. An example, it's a little late right now, but tomorrow night there's a concert at Satan. And Nick had actually suggested this. He said, was someone there with a table that's the one-pagers that we've been using and say, I know there are some other events coming up at other schools here between now and town meeting day. So I'd like to get you a list of those and for board members to sign up, because I think it really is important to have you there. Aaron and I can go to a whole sort of things, but I think it means a lot. I saw it Monday night, Marianne, when you were there, you knew everybody there around that table from Fairfield. And so it was that connection that you have with your communities, that you all have. So I'm going to send you out a list tomorrow, and please sign up and say, I'm willing to be there. Aaron or I are willing to staff it with you, and almost kind of that little phrase of, this is what's going on with the budget. Not more than 2 or 3 sentences. If you've got questions, stop and ask us, please.
Yeah.
okay,
Thank you.
Okay.
so thank you for that discussion on budget communications. We'll do the negotiations update in executive session. Next item is 8C, and it's the Collins Curly Sports Complex, whatever it is, boiler replacement bid approval. It is attachment 8C, and Bill or
Mark Deso's here to ask any detailed questions. Tim Beans couldn't be with us tonight. We did put out a bid. I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you at the last meeting, but I sent you an email saying that this is coming. We lost one of our boilers, right?
Lost one of the 2 minutes.
Yeah, so we are on one boiler right now. We have no backup of the Collins Burley. And so we went out for a bid that includes the boiler and some pumps. What else, Mark? Is there anything else in there in the bid?
No, it's pretty much the boilers and the pumps, complete removal, and the controls, electronic controls for it.
Yeah. And this is to replace them, and it'll actually do both boilers. You can see the low bidder is Vermont Mechanical. So we're recommending that the board make a motion to authorize the superintendent to negotiate with Vermont Mechanical to replace the boilers at Collins Building.
so just for clarification, we're going to replace both boilers? or just one?
The other one is gonna be soon behind it, because it's the same type of boiler. And due to the construction of the boiler, the aluminum cast inside
Yeah.
is not a good system.
Yeah,
So that's what went so early. These are only 11-year-old boilers. And
I
the
saw
other
that,
one,
yeah,
it's recommended to replace both because the other one's gonna go right behind it.
yeah.
So this cost is for both of them.
This costs us for both of them and the pumps that service the utility plants.
What was the expected lifespan of the boiler?
Those were, I think, 15 years.
And there's no kind of,
There was no warranty on it or anything, past what we got.
I
Okay,
guess my only question would be, is this the most efficient? You know, if we're about to, you know, embark on a new system, is this the most efficient system moving forward?
It was recommended by 2 of the 3 companies, the third one decided not even to even bid. The 2 companies that did bid are bidding the same thing, so they recommended the same thing.
same scope, right?
Same
Also-
scope of work, same exact, yep. Yep.
Okay, let's get a motion on the table here.
I've got a question on the first.
Okay.
Individuals who put a new boiler in or something get a rebate from the state or from Efficiency Vermont or whatever. Do entities like Collins Burley?
I'm not sure if they've looked into rebates. I haven't heard them talk about rebates or talking to Efficiency Vermont, but that would be Vermont Mechanical or Alliance who bid the job would work with them.
Right, I'm just looking to save some money for us if there are energy efficiency rebates.
So we need a motion to authorize the superintendent to negotiate with Vermont Mechanical for the Collins Curley boiler replacement. Can I have that motion, please?
I'll make the motion to come up.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
This is also to include temperature controls Vermont.
That the temperature controls is outside of the bid.
Okay.
Tim was letting the board know that
Got it.
they'd be doing the controls.
Okay.
Yep.
Can we stipulate that they work with Efficiency Vermont?
So, our working with Efficiency Vermont is that the contractor usually gives that within their bid. And so it becomes within the bid price if there are rebates on that.
Okay.
We've had that right, Mark, with the lighting that we did this summer up at Collins Burley, like we
The
got,
tennis courts and the rink all came with it.
right, and our price, the price was built in.
I'm sure there's a mandate, you know,
Yeah.
you're working with municipalities and you're working
Yeah.
with school districts, there's a
Okay.
mandate
Yeah,
within
yeah.
that.
We've done a lot of work with Efficiency Vermont. We get stuff through Vermont Gas or
Yeah.
through our HVAC, so I would be shocked. We've worked with both these vendors before and they've brought rebates through, so.
Okay.
Okay, we ready to vote?
These funds are coming out of capital fund?
No, we're gonna do this through the local budget with savings that we've had from this year.
Okay. Ready to vote? All in favor of the motion, as I stated earlier, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? Motion carries unanimously, 8-0. Thank you. Next item is the impact.
Thanks,
Good
Mark.
evening.
Thank you. Next item is the impact of unpaid leave. We have handout attachment 8D, and we also have Becky here to help us through this discussion. So I'm going to turn it over to you guys.
Thank you. Before we get into the numbers that were distributed to you, I wanted to just share a few examples of what real life impact is to our buildings due to unpaid time and absences. We have one department with more than 5 of their staff completely out of sick and personal time, not due to any catastrophic illness. The impact is shifting staff around, disrupting the days of the students learning, or having to cancel a class. So the risk of shutting down a classroom is real, and it's happening. In one of our buildings, it's a daily struggle to ensure the quality instruction and support happening for students. The use of unpaid leave often is taken at the last minute, which makes a stress system more stressed. Despite attempts to cover staff absences, the additional unpaid leave makes it really difficult. In another building, support staff and interventionists have stepped in to bridge that gap for absent staff, but the ongoing stress in an already stressful situation is real. Searching to find a sustainable solution for staff means doing some things a little differently and looking to ease the burden to everyone. It really is impactful to the staff, to the students, to our district. Any questions on that? So let's reference the data. I've highlighted the K through 8 locations, Fairfield City and Town. We have, the reporting period is 76 staff days, September 3rd through January 3rd. And it's both professional and ESP staff. You'll see at Fairfield, it's 5% of absent, 5% of professional staff are seeing full day absences, as well as 5% of our ESP staff. At City, for professionals, it's 3.2% of full day absences for professionals, and 5% for support staff. And at Town, it's 8% of our professional staff are seeing full day absences, while 16% of our support staff are absent full days.
Is this like on a per diem basis? So like every day on average at Fairfield, 5% of the staff are out.
This is cumulative.
Okay.
During that 76.
So 5% of the staff throughout the 76% of the days were absent on any one day.
Questions on that? The next page is available time off balances and unpaid time. Here we're looking at all of our buildings, BFA, Fairfield, NCTC, City, and Town. 35 BFA staff, professional staff have been absent full days, sick 2 days, and as you see, there are 0 in the unpaid category. You can go down the line. 12 of our professional staff have taken full day personal absences. At NCTC, 7 of our professional staff. At City, we have 24. Professional staff have taken personal time. 1 has taken sick time, and 1 is entering that unpaid category. At Town, it's 28 personal, 3 have hit the sick time, and 1 is in that unpaid category. We look to our ESP staff. The numbers are increased. BFA, 8 personal, 1 sick, 5 are entering that unpaid, have entered that unpaid category. Fairfield, it's 7 for personal, 1 sick, and 1 unpaid. At Town, it's 3 personal, 1 unpaid. At City, it's 29 staff with 20 hours or less of available time, and we'll touch on that. I'll address that a little bit further. 8 sick and 6 have hit that unpaid time, and at Town, it's 23 personal, 8 sick, and 13. The reason I bring your eye to 20 hours and that for me is an important number of 20 hours that's 20 hours or less of available time to them, and we still have half of the year remaining to us. So it really is, the leave is low now for many, and I'm looking at these potential areas of concern and the impact that's having on our schools.
Becky, can I ask you just a question about the chart a little bit?
Yes.
On that second page. So when I see BFA has 35, the professional staff, there's personnel, there's 35 of them. Is that under personnel means that they have 20 or less hours?
Yes.
There's 35 people that have 20 or less hours available left.
Correct.
And for the sick, there's 2 people that have 20 or less hours of sick time left.
Correct.
And there's no one that's into unpaid leave as of right now.
Correct.
So when you look at that chart, when I look at that chart, I'm seeing how many people have less than 20 hours left. And so, for example, in the teacher's professional contract, same for ESP, there are 4 days or 32 hours.
Correct.
But there's 15 sick days, so 15 times 7.5. I don't have my calculator out, but whatever that is.
15 times 7.5, 112.5.
112.
112, so they have now less than 20 hours left of that sick time. They started with 112.
And they're able to, if that.
They're able to accrue
then
above
they're
that.
able to roll over sick time, they're not able to roll over personal time.
So we're starting to see more and more people in jeopardy of having to go to unpaid.
That unpaid time is the concern.
But we don't have a requirement that you have to exhaust your paid personal time before you can take unpaid, correct? So they can request, just one step further to clarify, an individual can request unpaid time even though they have paid time available to them in their paid time bank or whatever it's called.
Yes, and we can explore that in executive session.
So can I, from looking at these 2 little charts at the bottom, these 2 tables, can I get that number? No, right? Like, I'm wondering how many people have plenty of personal sick time, but they've used a lot of unpaid. I mean, is that number?
That doesn't reflect that here. It's something that we can look at.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not like you have to do that for me, but I was just trying to make the point that people do request this unpaid time even though they have time available to them.
I can't confidently, with 100% certainty, say that the folks that are hitting that unpaid time category have any paid time available to them.
Right. So they may or may not.
Correct.
But they're not required to either way.
Also reminding everybody that if you are making a request, that you are requesting that to the administration.
Correct.
And you are getting granted.
Correct.
We are talking about a problem that we are perpetuating.
But the board has to approve it, right? The unpaid time.
Not all.
Can the superintendent and principal approve how many?
Up to 5 days.
For the ESP.
For the ESP.
10 for.
10 for professional staff.
So, when we got the request for unpaid time off last week, that was someone who was above and beyond those that were able to be approved by the.
That's correct.
Ah.
But I only have it come to the board if it's beyond the approval ability of the administration.
That wasn't clear to me. I mean, I get it, and I know we talked about it, but it wasn't clear to me last week when we were looking at it. Thank you.
My question is, I know if there is a cost to have unpaid leave, but there is also a cost for hiring. And so how much does it cost us to solicit out for a position? To take an example of last week, it was a short-term thing, it sounded like a short-term problem. And so if this person wasn't able to fulfill and had to leave her position because of the short-term problem, how much would it cost for us to actually solicit out, hire, onboard, all that aspect? And so I think that's another cost we need to think about when we are doing unpaid leave, is hiring, if there's a cost on hiring and letting go of somebody. And so what does that cost? Part of that too. So I can see the short-term unpaid leave understandable because there is a cost accrued when we let somebody go, we have to onboard them. Or when we hire somebody, take HR, business, so many other people to get them involved, orientation. And so that's another thing I think you need to consider too when we're doing the unpaid leave. The cost analysis between letting them go for a few days or hiring a brand new person in.
That's a great question. I can do that research and bring that back.
Really basic question, I think Bree answered this. A working school day is how many hours? 7.5. 7.5.
For professional and inventory oriented.
So when you're under 20 hours, you effectively have 2 days. 2 and maybe a little bit of change.
Yeah.
Kumar, what is it that you just requested?
I asked you to see the cost of actually hiring somebody, because there isn't a cost between soliciting out the information, interviewing, onboarding, and will that, could that cost override some of our unpaid leave if we're going to lose a position if the person is unable to come back to work in a short amount of time?
Is that something the board all wants to see?
I'm wondering if that would be, if this might be, if we get that far in, I'm wondering if this might be an educational session?
Yeah, that's something more towards the education session.
It could almost be bargaining in bad faith. Because you're granting some additional options that are not in the master agreement. The point that I feel strongly about is we make a contract with people. They read the master agreement, they have so many days, sick days, personal days, so forth, and we're seeing a gross irresponsibility in terms of people not abiding by their contract. And this causes, I understand Nakoma's question, but there's also a cost of morale for the other people that have to take the place, because getting substitutes is almost impossible for many of the people, especially, as you say, Becky, the last minute. And people having to cover for other people. There's a morale cost. And the most important thing, our obligation to deliver the best educational program for students. And if adults are just not meeting their responsibilities, I'm a bleeding heart liberal person in most cases. But when people aren't fulfilling their contract, that bothers me. So I feel I'm going to be strong about that when we get votes about unpaid leave and all that kind of stuff. People need to abide by their contract.
So just to add to that though, Jack, they're exercising a right that's in the contract.
Mm-hmm.
We put that right in the contract for those individuals to ask for additional unpaid time once it exceeds the guidelines of what the principal and the superintendent can approve. So I don't see that personally as a bad faith thing. I mean, I'm not an attorney, but just my gut says if we've given them an option and they're exercising an option, it's up to us to be judicial about what the decision we make is.
Well, that's my point. As a board member, I'm going to be strict about that. Because it's unfair to the other employees and to the students.
Jacoby had his hand up.
Yeah, as a student, I echo those thoughts. Like, it doesn't feel good to know that your teacher is just not showing up, in all honesty. Yeah, I understand, like, you know, you have other things to do, but you're asking students to have an attendance requirement, you're asking students to show up, you're consistently, you know, you're having these unexcused absences and things like that, even if your, you know, parental figure is emailing, and then teachers, you know, just call and whatever. I mean, just as, you know, I'm not like just justify, like I'm just saying, like, as a student, and my brother has had teachers who don't show up, who, you know, get COVID every 2 weeks and just kind of, you know, take that opportunity, and it hurts him, and it really does, like, negatively impact students when their teacher, who's supposed to be building relationships with them and who's supposed to be, you know, their thought partner throughout the whole year, who's engaging with them and teaching them, isn't showing up, and you're learning from a sub who, you know, rightfully so, doesn't know what they're teaching because they're not, you know, not all of them are teachers. And you know, I think it is, you know, like, you know, this is your job. You have to train the next generation of Americans. That requires showing up. And you know, I'm like someone, you know, I believe like, yeah, take like you first. If you need to leave, you have an appointment, like whatever. But at a certain point, you know, you are impacting students' learning who are also being required and asked to show up, and who, you know, when they don't show up, you know, it's not always, you know, the most positive situation for the student to have to go and like, it's a hassle in all honesty. And, you know, how do students, they don't feel good when, you know, they're being required to show up, but then their teacher can just, whatever.
To build on.
Joanna? Oh, did you have a response?
To build on what Jacoby was saying, you know, when we're adjusting the staff due to absences, we're pulling
Other teachers from their prep time.
and special educators, so that limits the consistent access that some of our students are experiencing.
Yeah, and yeah, I'll add to that too, like, you know, you have these teachers who have prep times where they need to grade, they need to do these other things, and then they can't do that if they're subbing a class. And so, like, again, like, I agree with you, you know, like, I'm super, like, you know, take all the time you need, but also, at a certain point, like, there are other people's time that you have to remember are just as valuable as yours.
Joanna?
And I agree with everything that you're saying and everything that you said, Jack. And we are not victims here. We are responsible for these folks, and we are supposed to be supervising them, managing them, and so it is our responsibility to hold people accountable. So we can fix this.
Which I agree with you, John.
And we gotta work you know, every once in a while, use the word retention.
So just procedurally, we've had unpaid requests that we've granted, we've had some that we've declined. So someone comes to us with a unpaid absence, they're coming to us after they've exhausted their limit allowed by, that has been granted by the principal of their school. If we say yes, then they get the amount that they've requested because we have approved that and we said it's okay for that. And if we say no, then their options are either they go back to work, or they enter a the disciplinary process for basically skipping a day. Is that correct?
And we set precedent.
Well, clearly.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Because look at the problem that we have. I mean, that's just.
We set precedent, and then everybody can do that.
So I just want to make sure that we're not like,
And
you
you're
know,
right, you can say no.
demonizing
Yeah.
teachers in the ESP here. I guess that's the
No.
part that I feel really uncomfortable with in this conversation, because we are allowing it to happen. And we did just get through, you know, a pandemic, and I believe that everybody's intentions are good, right? They're trying to be supportive, and they're trying to be respectful, and but let's not bring up a problem and, you know, just look at the people that are doing. We're all a part of this problem, so we all have to take responsibility for it. We got to figure out how we're going to fix it moving forward, I guess is all that I'm saying.
Yeah.
And what I would say is that the unpaid leave requests have gone down, but the impact of it's similar to what I was showing you about students and our behavior. Very few are impacting a great deal. When I think about the people that get paid, they get pulled when one person's absent.
Yeah, it's going to take
Because there are
some
no
time.
subs.
It's going to take time. It's not going to, you know, just get better overnight, right? Yeah.
So Becky, I hate to be a dog with a bone here, but I'm trying to understand this table. So the last table says, less than 20 hours of available paid time off / accessing unpaid time. So is that really kind of what I was asking about?
This is a chart reflecting percentages of staff, echoing the previous page, page 2. It's just percentages versus the number of folks.
So are these folks accessing unpaid, or are they just less than the 20 hours?
Same time, less than 20 hours of paid time available to them and or accessing unpaid time. So if we look at page 2, it says at the bottom, professional staff at, I'm going to say town, at SATEC, 1 professional staff has accessed unpaid time. On page 3, it's going to say 1% of professional staff have access paid time. So 1 person is 1% in this instance.
And so 36, staying on SATEC,
Yeah.
36% of the professional staff have less than 20 hours of personal time.
And that's 28 staff.
And under the sick, 4% of the professional staff have less than 20 hours, and 15% of the ESP have less than 20 hours of sick time left.
Correct.
Thank you.
Just to speak to Jen, we are setting precedents every time we approve or deny it, but one of the benefits that we do have is we get, I mean, admittedly, the reasoning comes to us in a letter, but when we take votes on these, we should keep in mind what precedent we're setting. We're setting precedent with each one, but I need unpaid time because my house burned down is very different from I need unpaid time because I want to take a trip to Hawaii. And now the part of our job is basically weighing all of that and figuring out what is an emergency situation and what is something where you're gonna have to soldier on. And it's good to have all of this information to keep in mind as we make those decisions. And the precedents really come when, if we give unpaid time for something that we later decide is minor, then we backed ourselves into a corner, because then we're picking and choosing, this person gets it and this person does not.
So, Charlie, I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Using that word precedent is not correct in this discussion.
Okay.
We just did it. I mean, we didn't set a precedent, because precedent would mean more of a plan for the future kind of thing.
It's perhaps not the best legal term, but if someone says, if we give 3 days of unpaid leave to someone who is taking a religious pilgrimage, just throwing something out that I don't think we've run into yet, and then that comes up again and we decide, no, in that case, it's not probably legally a precedent, but it's a matter of being
consistent.
Yeah, it requires us to be consistent in how we're doing things, and to keep in mind when we give out time, why we've done it, and what compelling reasons might make that different in different cases.
But I don't disagree with you, but the word precedent is kind of a zinger word in the contract negotiation world.
I'll take that out of my language.
I would actually inform the board that in our negotiated agreements, I know it's in the teachers, I want to look in the ESP, we have a non-precedent setting clause.
That's correct.
Okay, and that non-precedent setting basically means that
any action doesn't set precedent.
Okay, so what we do then, if someone comes by with an exact,
You can change your mind.
okay. I
Not
still
just
think
to this, but
I still think it's best for us to be consistent, but that's good knowledge to have.
But I think talking about morale is taking it by case study, because on morale, you're dealing with a fire or a sickness, and then we say no unpaid leave. That also affects other people in their morale, because we don't know what the future is. When they sign the contract, they don't know they're going to get sick, their mother, their child, and so we can't. The contract is legal binding. They're all humans, and we all have stuff outside of school. And so I think it's very important that we do take a case-by-case study when we do unpaid leave, because it does affect morale oppositely too. If they don't realize that the school district has their back if something needs to go down in the middle of their contract. And so I think it's
I
very
would-
important.
But that's what
I
happened
actually
in
would,
LA.
we will give you an update in negotiations about that issue.
Okay.
We have to keep that quiet, I'm sorry, but we're in negotiations right now, and we have more information about that.
And there are resources available for people, you know, Family Medical Leave Act, so there are, this isn't for those catastrophic situations. This is for the, you know, not coming to school today because my car's not working, can't come to school today because, you know, my daughter's sick, can't, you know, have no daycare today. Like, that's what this stuff is about, you know, is those day-to-day things that really become difficult. And, you know, it's hard from an HR point of view, I would imagine, to say, we gotta let you go, because we only have 4 months of school left, and I can't imagine trying to hire somebody, and we already have 10 other positions that we can't seem to hire anybody for. So we might as well keep this person on, because they come in maybe 2 out of the 5 days a week, right? But they're now realizing the impact that it has, that maybe it might even be better not to have that person on, because then you can make a plan for each and every, you know, of the 5 days, and not be left in the lurch,
Yeah, it's gonna
right?
be,
Right.
I think we've
I think it's good for us to have an awareness of
had a
this
good
impact.
discussion and awareness, and perhaps sometime in the future, there might be some education. There is some data that was requested that you can send to us at the next meeting, or,
Thank you.
I mean, I don't think there's any hurry, it's just stuff we'd like to see. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for your input. Other business is warrants. So, I'm going to make a motion to approve the warrants, acknowledging that passage of this motion will act as authorization and signature of any individual board member participating remotely. May I have a second? Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Next item is the superintendent report.
Thanks, Linda. I have like 3 or 4 things to inform the board about. The first one is, next meeting, we'll be getting back to our equity policy work. So Harry's going to be coming back and working with Jacoby on that to help lead us, and other students to help us lead us through that work. So I'll be sending you something that has, for all of you to complete a table that's on the Maple Run Equity Policy Review and Research Template. It's something we did the last one. Aaron's got a hard copy of this if you'd like it, but we'll make sure we get it out in email as well. And so I just wanted to kind of remind us about that. We're doing that in the first meeting in February. Our restorative practices are starting to have community information nights, and Jeff and Stacy Rulo will be starting those in March. March 27th and April 3rd, working with parents and community members about how do RP restorative practices integrate the community work with the school work, and what can parents and families do to support that. So that's going to be happening at City School on the 27th of March and the 3rd of April.
Bill, could you please send that out to us, because
Yeah.
that would be a great thing that not only could board participate in, you know, if possible,
Yeah.
but we could also, you know, review
Yeah.
as well, please.
Yep.
Thank you, sorry.
I don't think there's much more of a handout, but just we can get you a same.
No, it's fine, I just need the date.
Yeah, we can get you a same date.
Thank you.
The next thing I want to let everyone know about is we talked about the past couple meetings, the work that's going on in the legislature right now with the Commission on the Future of Public Education and the agency taking a really active role. Yesterday, the secretary gave an update on the state profile, and as I said the last meeting, there's a series of information discussions that are happening with House Appropriations, House Ed, Senate Ed, and the Senate Finance Committee, where they're having joint sessions. All the information is up on the House Ed website. I suggest that you look at the daily, what's handed out there. One of the things that was handed out yesterday that I think would be good for all of you as board members, they're doing infographics that look like this. And I'm sorry it's hard to see, but it's the best I could do right now. I didn't ask Aaron to put it up, but if you get the presentation on state profile, there are color graphics, and this one happens to be free and reduced lunch percentage of 3-year average. And you can see all the districts, and they do different shades of red here. There's another one for special ed percentages. There's another one for ADM. There's another one for types. It's just good knowledge for you to have as the legislature goes into this discussion. The governor announced that next week, he'll be announcing in his budget address, I think it's next week. I got the date right in my head. John's saying yes, it's Thursday, I think the 23rd. He's going to be announcing what his plan for the future, and it's going to hit all 3 pillars of the education system. It's going to hit finance, governance, and the delivery system. And today, I was saying to John right before the board meeting, there was a really impactful, and maybe I'm just seeing too much of this. It's superintendents, we're meeting almost weekly on this right now. This is going to impact the future of Vermont. When the plan comes out, there'll be a lot about it. We're actually, as superintendents, encourage it. What they did with Act 127 was just play with the weights. And you heard tonight how much that confused our funding system and made it more complex. We said you've got to, if you're going to adjust the education system, you need to adjust all 3 of those pillars together. It's what other states have had to do. And so I just really implore you to stay up to date with what's going on. Use the VSBA weekly announcements that come out, your weekly pieces. There's good updates in there. And if you have time to look at what's posted on the House Education Committee, that's where they're keeping all the documents. They're doing a nice job of a repository there. So this one, I've been watching it daily. I take 15, 20 minutes every night to kind of go through what's handed out. And that's why I brought you to the state profile from yesterday. I just think there's some really good infographics to really understand Vermont context and how Maple Run fits into that context. For an example, the percentage of students in a district that are qualified for special education is somewhere from, I believe it's 8% is the low, up to 36%. We are at 24%. There's not many districts between 24 and 36%, but there's a lot between 20 and 24%. So it's just kind of good to know, like, where you've all asked me, like, how do we fit relative? We're starting to see some of that data come out of how does Maple Run as a district sit relative to other districts. So those are 3 things. And then Bree wants to give you an update about ESSER and our ESSER funding.
Is there more? So, no, there's no more. So we were awarded over $13 million in ESSER funds, and we were able to utilize every single penny of all of those funds.
Good work.
Is there, and I'm not asking for it now, will there be a report at some point about how that money was spent and maybe the benefits that we received from it? And again, not asking during the budget season.
So tonight we don't have a breakdown of it.
Yeah,
But
not expecting to.
Some of the initiatives that we utilized were, and I have them written right here actually. We were able to do the HVAC project up at VFA, providing professional development for staff, the summer programming that we had at the schools and then through the rec department and Black Creek Adventure Camp. And then the new math and literacy programs that were at the schools. And John can go into more detail also.
Yeah, again, not looking for it now, just like sometime in the future, if we could just look at,
I would say there's one budget thing that is related actually that Martha and then Bree deserve a lot of credit for. So we talked, the board had pushed for efficiency and sustainability with ESSER funding pretty consistently throughout the time period with access to the grants. And Martha and Bree and myself worked to actually take positions that were funded in different grants where they were penalized. So many of the grants that flow through the state, we pay a 26 or
Yeah.
26 and change % penalty on the staff, money used towards staffing.
Okay.
And that's, the state is subsidizing the unfunded mandate and the pension with those funds. So what we were able to do through cycling money between local funds, ESSER funds, and these other grants was pull those staff positions out of the grants in which they were penalized. And so actually heading into next year, we're gonna save a little more than $430,000 from those penalties.
That's great. Great, thank you.
Just worth explaining because
Yeah.
it is budget related.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm happy to hear it. I just didn't want anybody to feel like I was putting them on the spot.
Which, if I'm remembering correctly, is about 1 penny off the tax rate.
Well, there you go,
Yeah, you really remember those good rules of thumb.
Data presentation, did we all get that?
So we put this in the packet, right, Aaron?
Yes.
Today? We put it up in the packet so you had it. We knew there's a couple of you that always ask for paper, so Aaron made some copies. I've got one of them in my hand. So if you'd like a paper copy that's already made, I think you printed off 3 of them. But we did put it in the packet. I asked him to do that this morning because this was given yesterday and I saw it. I said, hey, just throw this in the packet.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other superintendent report items?
No, you have everything.
Board announcements?
Could I just, it takes me time to process sometimes, could I just make a comment on the unpaid leave conversation, even though we've moved on? I just am like reflecting, and I've been in both situations where I had a job, unreliable childcare, spouse traveling, had to leave that job. And then I moved to a situation where there was a lot more flexibility, autonomy, could really do a good job in your job. And I think we have to start thinking about like burnout and how people's lives are like structured like a house of cards. Like your car dies, your childcare is not available. It's really hard to get to work. And it doesn't work if people aren't showing up, but like, is there another way we could handle staffing or staff classrooms? I have no idea. I just am wondering if there's other models out there, because with every generation changing, there's going to be changes in how people are able to show up to work and have the capacity. And burnout is more than like, I mean, I love yoga, but it's more than offering like breathing and yoga. It's like, how do you take care of yourself and your needs and be able to show up and be your best self? And I just think it's like a much larger systemic problem that we have to address. But I don't know, life is like it's so easy to fall apart on people. It's no solution. I don't know solutions. And then I do have another announcement that's totally different.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I work with Melinda White, probably a lot of you know her, and she's put together a summit on January 30th, and I'm helping to promote it through the hospital, but it's about 20 different organizations, all who address addiction, homelessness. The police will be there, and the intention of it is to bring all the community members together, have these organizations present on like the real data in the community, what's available for services for people, what's really happening. I'm sure you guys see on social media things happen and then it gets like amplified and then suddenly everybody thinks our city is like a terrible place to be. But it's, you know, there'll be real statistics there, and then you'll get to go and visit each organization and have conversations. So that's January 30th at City Hall. Doors open at 5, and the talks start at 5:30.
I wonder if we can have a booth there, a table there.
Oh, yeah. We could put
So,
table there.
maybe give me an idea, maybe we could table that too, since like you can make community member in the area. Because we're part of that solution too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Good. Thank you. That's great, thanks. Any other announcements?
Just kind of, I think I'm possibly repeating something that was in one of our recent media packets. It wasn't in this one, but recently the BFA Bob White hockey team did some work making beds for people in need, and they made 52 total beds that I just thought it was a cool opportunity for the students to utilize, learn and utilize some skills, and also to help those in need.
Great, thank you.
Hilda, I guess I should announce that I am gonna,
Yay!
Am I doing?
Re-election.
Rerun.
Thank you.
I'm doing
That sounds
something.
good, huh?
It's,
Prepare.
7:30 on a
Yeah,
Monday.
I'm done.
And Nicola is, and also Charlie. So thank you all. All right, so plan for board observations and board reflections. Again, this is for us to indicate where we've been as far as observing different events in the district, and also filling out one of those board reflection forms to indicate that that happened and put our sort of personal evaluation on the effectiveness of that program, meeting the goals. And of course, we have our, go ahead.
Oh, I have a reflection when that time comes.
Say again?
I have a reflection when that.
Oh, reflect, good way.
I got to go to school today. A first and second grade class in city school has been doing a meet members of your community program where they bring in people to talk about what their role in the community is. So I got to go in and talk for quite a bit about my background, the books I've written, my role in the school board, my ties to city school, and it was overall a very good experience. The kids were really well behaved. They asked really interesting questions. They made me sing a little bit, which luckily Zach wasn't around to hear that because that was pretty bad. But it also kind of reinforced how even when things are going well in a classroom, how much sort of noise and activity there is, because the kids were really excited and on the ball, but it was a lot for my usually quiet office world. A lot of stimulus for me to take, but I turned it into a reflection there, and I was happy to have that opportunity.
Thank you. And then our board work plan is a living document.
Yep.
All right, so agenda for future meetings, I think we've got supports for new staff. We're going to eliminate the budget and the questions around the budget for the next agenda. And I now need a motion to go into executive session to discuss ESP negotiation updates. So may I have that motion, please? So moved. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. We're now going to go into executive session. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for leaving.
Yeah, but don't we need a vote? Don't we need a vote to officially go into executive session?
All in favor of going into executive session, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Thank you. We are now in executive session to move our visitors.